Welcome to Wasatch Weekends for this Monday, August 28th edition. I'm your host, Ben Roof. On today's show, we're going to be talking to the author of Ongoing Success and Well-Being, and then Gretchen Pleshaw speaks with an expert in buying a new car. But a quick local announcement to start us off today. Everybody should have their ballots for the Park City Council primary at this point, and you have just a little bit longer to fill those out before you turn them in. Now, don't forget, the election ends on September 5th, so your ballots must be either postmarked by that day or turned in to a drop box by the same day. You can send them in or drop them off earlier, but if the 6th has rolled around, it's a little bit too late. Let's take a quick look at that local weather before we move on with the show.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Welcome back. A little while ago, we had the opportunity to sit down with the author of Ongoing Success and Well-Being, a book that's designed to kind of help us move forward and improve our lives. Let's take a listen to that interview.
Welcome back. Right now we're speaking with Anshul Vash from Toronto. She's an incredible author, trainer, speaker. In fact, just recently this summer released a new book that is doing incredible on many bestseller lists. Anshul, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure.
I'd love to start with your book that was most recently released. Tell me more about it.
Yes, absolutely. So I have the book right here. It's called Ongoing Success and Well-Being. It's a daily guide on how to cultivate fulfillment in the pursuit of achievement. You know, there's so many books out there, that self-help books, success books, mindset books, that really focus just on the mindset aspect. But this book talks about some well-being strategies, explain even what well-being entails, and how do you continue to sustain success.
And in fact, you're passionate about mental health and wellness, also with empowering individuals through different ways such as media. What made you decide to write this book at this time?
That's a great question. So a couple of years ago, I lost my twin brother to suicide. It was actually July 12th of 2016. And I had set a goal every single year. Ever since his passing, I have been organizing mental health events. And beginning of this year, I had decided that this year, instead of hosting an event to bring the community together, I was going to put down everything that I have been training people on into one book. And so I set a goal that by July 12th, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to publish a book that's going to hit a bestseller list in honor of my late twin brother. And I was really, really excited that the book within 24 to 48 hours hit multiple bestseller lists. And I was able to meet my goal. And for that, I'm really grateful for the community support.
Well, congratulations. What a huge thing to accomplish, and in his memory, just a very incredible story. But you've had a lot of experience, unfortunately, with grief, and that's really molded who you are today. How are you helping others through your heartbreaking experiences?
So I got mental health first aid certified immediately after the passing of my twin brother. And while I was sitting in class, I realized that why aren't we taught this in school? These are like basic essential life skills that each one of us should know. And Shortly after that, I went and got a certified success trainer. And again, as I'm sitting in class throughout my training, I was just wondering, why aren't we taught this? Why isn't this information accessible to people? Why isn't this being promoted often? And that's when I started to host events, workshops, started giving talks in different communities. And that's just how I'm right now adding value and teaching people concepts that have helped me achieve ongoing success and well-being.
And as a speaker, when you go out to these communities, what do you focus your speaking on? I know you're very passionate about many things, such as mental health, as we've mentioned. Also, how everyone has their own unique value that adds to their communities. So, what do you primarily focus your speaking engagements on?
Thank you for that question. I appreciate it, Christine. So my presentations usually, or my talks usually focus on what is well-being. We focus on something that's in this book as well. Everything is in this book that usually I teach. It's something called the Wheel of Well-being. We cover all these aspects, how if one area of well-being suffers, each one of them suffers. So we cover something called a graph of well-being, so people understand where they are from the moment you wake up in the morning and you look at this graph. You're able to identify how you're feeling in this very moment, and you learn to add activities depending on what works for you throughout your day to get yourself moving forward. We talk about setting you up for success by helping you determine your life purpose statement, your vision, goals, and setting your own affirmations, and really inspiring you to believe in yourself and working through any adversity that comes your way. I also like to touch base upon this methodology that I created on how do you help someone who's going through a difficult or troubling situation in real time. Often, we say things to people around us that may trigger them further when they're not doing very well. And so again, it's in this book, it's a bonus chapter in this book right towards the end to help people address someone that's not doing well physically and have them open up to you and want to listen to you if you're offering any resources or support.
And not only do you speak and write and focus so much of your energies on mental health, overcoming grief, and so much more, but you also are a very successful, career-driven individual. You started your career at Citibank. You have a full-service media management company. I'd love to hear more about your trail, your journey in your specific career.
So thank you so much for asking that. I started my first company when I was 8 years old with both my late brothers. I used to have an older brother who passed away in Nigeria from malaria. And he used to be like an avid reader of Chicken Soup for the Soul, the books. So he would pretend to be a teacher and teach my twin brother and I concepts, So I'm literally a child of personal development. And so we started our first company together when I was 8 years old. And after that, we shut down that company. Eventually, we started a new one. And when my older brother had passed away, I was 13 years old. And as a way of coping with that loss, I started to paint and draw. And eventually, I started to sell those paintings. And little did I know that, hey, this is a business right here. And then I made my way here to Toronto, Canada, because he was about to come here. And I just wanted to make his dream come true. And right off the bat, when I came here, I got a job, and eventually I set up a company called Vash Media, because I didn't just go to university. I also went to college simultaneously. I wanted to get a degree, a diploma, and I also thought that it would really help enhance my career. It'll take me to the next level, and it did. College gave me opportunities that, university per se didn't, like making our education system more practical. All the projects we did were case-based, where we had to go to actual corporations, find out a want and need in their digital space and provide strategies. And from there, I ended up registering this company and helping people, startup entrepreneurs, medium-sized firms with all of their digital needs. And, this started about 10 years ago. I was still in university, and I've always ever since just wanted to add value to people's lives, like especially if you are impact driven, you're a change maker, you're a thought leader, you have a service you're offering that's going to help make lives better out there. I want to help you, and I want to take you to the next level.
Well, your passion and vulnerability and empathy, success, it all comes across even virtually through the screen. And I know you are inspiring many, many others. How can we find out more about you, follow along with your journey, read your books, and be continuously inspired by you?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You can definitely reach out to me via any of my websites, vashmediainc.com or anshulvash.com. And you can also follow me on social media. It's a common social media handle anywhere across any platform, and it's at Anshul Vash.
Well, thank you so much, Anshul Vash, for joining us today. Really appreciate your time and your busy schedule with us. It's been absolutely inspiring meeting you, hearing about your experiences. Looking forward to continuously following along with you in your journey, and excited to read your books as well. We'll be back with more right after this.
Welcome back to the show. Used cars can be a bit of a challenge, especially in today's market. Prices are a little bit extreme, and there's a whole lot of varieties out there that are available for us, from electrics to hybrids to our more traditional gas vehicles. And Gretchen Pleshaw had the opportunity to sit down with an expert and get a little bit of advice on how to best pick a new car, especially if we're looking to get an electric vehicle or a hybrid. Let's hear what he has to say.
I am very excited about this interview. I get to interview Brian Moody, car expert, a car buying expert, I should say. And I was talking with Brian off camera a little bit earlier. I have only owned Jeeps. I have so many questions. I'm so excited to talk all things electric and hybrid cars. How are you doing this morning, Brian?
I am doing great. Good thing that you're in luck you like Jeeps, because Jeep does have a plug-in hybrid, and it's actually quite good.
Really? Okay, so there we go. We're starting off great. That's something I did not realize, I did not know. I would love to hear. I'm so interested, electric and hybrid cars. Why are Americans nervous about buying them? What is the trepidation there? Why aren't we all buying them right now?
I think when it comes to electric cars, I think they're concerned, and rightfully so, how they behave in cold weather, the range, and more importantly, the charging time. What we found was, we did a survey recently and asked people if they were open to the idea of electric cars, and they said that they were open. But about 2/3 of the respondents said that they felt like a hybrid fit their needs better right now for today.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you think it's more of people are just nervous to have a full, total kind of change of lifestyle, or with the electric car running out, if you run out of gas, like one of my friends was saying earlier, obviously you can walk down the road, call whatever AAA, but as far as powering your car, that's maybe the nervousness kind of rides on that. Is that what you're thinking?
It could be, yeah, it could be that it's unfamiliar technology. I think that's kind of the bucket that we're talking about. And that could be it. But at the same time, there are many people that are really into new technology. So we see a lot of early adopters going and getting Teslas and Jeeps and Toyotas and other, fully electric or even fuel cell powered cars. So there's a little bit of both. In the middle, we think hybrids work well for people because it gives you what you need right now. But with a plug-in hybrid, for example, you can drive around and do your daily errands on fully electricity. So 20 to 40 miles, do your daily errands, electricity only. The gas engine never comes on until you want to go up to the mountains and go on a ski trip or go on a long road trip. Then the gas engine kicks in, and it gives you the convenience of just going to gas stations.
I love that. So you think that the kind of way to go is maybe the in-between hybrid and then going full electric? Is that kind of your vibe? That's what you think is best for most people to try?
Yes, and certain vehicles, I'll tell you, like you mentioned Jeep. The Jeep has this great feature where when you plug it in, most plugins, as soon as you start driving, it uses up the electricity. The Jeep has a feature where you can bank your electricity, go to your destination, and then when you get there, if you want to go off-roading or whatever, then you can turn on the electricity. Imagine being off-road where all you hear is the birds and the stream and that kind of thing.
I love
So there's
that.
lots of different options when it comes to these hybrids and plug-in hybrids.
That's really interesting. That is something I wasn't aware of. And for me, as only being a Jeep owner, and that's kind of the only vehicle I know a lot of, well, not even a lot about, I know about. That's a really awesome.
Yeah.
For me, that's something I would definitely use daily. That's really cool. I was wondering, what confuses people the most, do you think, about EVs?
What seems to confuse people is almost everything, because in the survey that I mentioned before, a majority of respondents said they didn't even know what questions to ask. So they felt confused by the whole process.
Okay.
There's things like tax incentives. That's one thing that you can look into. There's also the cost of replacing a battery in an electric car if you bought it used, maybe outside of warranty. That's a major concern. There's also how the electric cars and the electric components work when the weather is either very hot or very cold. And all of those things are valid concerns, but might not be a barrier for everyone. So it's important to look into what your specific needs are and then go from there. For some people, a fully electric car is going to be great. They're going to love the experience, especially if you can charge up at home.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, and this is very interesting timing because in October, my Jeep will be paid off and I'm going to start looking around, shopping around. So let's say for me, for a first-time buyer thinking about electric hybrid, what is kind of, I don't know, what are the steps that I would do so? What can I look into? Where do I go to? What is the best way to kind of take those first steps to see what would be best for me and my needs here in Vail, let's say, in Colorado?
Well, yeah, totally. You can evaluate your needs, first of all. Like, what do you own your own home is a good place to start. If you do, and you can install a charger on your property, you're going to like that. If not, look about where are the chargers in your area. Maybe there are plenty, maybe there are not. Ask the dealership where you go, hey, I want a fully electric car, or I want whatever you think is going to work for best, and have them tell you some pros and cons. You can also go to our website, which is kbb.com, and that has a full buying guide of pros and cons on all these kind of cars we're talking about. So do a lot of research ahead of time. Also, you could keep driving your Jeep and have no car payment for a little while. That's one thing you could do.
I love that. Brian, I can see why they call you the car expert. I was just wondering, personally, what kind of car do you own? Do you own a hybrid? Do you own an electric car? Or are you still running like me without?
Yes, we have a gasoline-powered car, and the reason is that I intended to get a plug-in hybrid, and I went down to get a plug-in hybrid, and it was just too expensive.
Gotcha.
I could not afford the car. The price that the car was didn't make sense, because the car that was the similar car, same car, but was gasoline only, was about $15,000 less.
Wow.
That's a lot of money, and that goes into your payment. So, we have a car that we bought used that's a small SUV, and I think it works great. Would the next time I consider getting a plug-in hybrid? Yes, if the prices come down a little bit more, I would consider that for sure.
I love that you're so honest, because that is something that people don't always think about. It's so good for the environment and way more expensive. So you have to do what you can do to help our environment little by little. That's awesome. Brian, I hope I can get your email or cell phone number, because before I get my car, I'm going to be calling or emailing you. It seems like you know all the things, all the ways of buying cars.
No problem. Yes, no problem.
Of course. I really appreciate you getting up so early with us this morning. And thank you for talking to us about all things hybrid and electric cars.
Yep. No, thank you. No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
that's it for this weekend's edition of Wasatch Weekends. Since it's Monday, I won't be seeing you guys until Friday, but if you've missed any of our episodes, you can always catch us on parkcity.tv, where we keep all of our archives. I hope you guys have a great week. Until next Friday, I'm your host, Ben Roof, and this is Wasatch Weekends.